Credits, baby! Let's go! We did it. Alright. Let's go. Alright, first things first. The bottom center of the screen says that we have beaten 64 games in 2024 and 511 since we started doing this in 2020. Those numbers are now lies. We've now beaten 65 games in 2024 and 512 since we started doing this in 2020. Let's go. All right, let's talk about the ups and downs of Super Mario Land. And I have a lot to say. All right, so I believe this is a Game Boy launch title, and so before I say anything else, I should preface this by saying that this is a modern marvel. I remember when the Game Boy was new. I never played this, but I did play Tetris, and it was technically very impressive back in the day. Didn't matter that it wasn't color, didn't matter that it was, you know, less detailed than the NES even. You know, it didn't matter. It was in your hands. It was cool. You know, so in that context, this game is awesome. It's really impressive that they were able to do all of this. I mean, this is a full Mario game. As a launch title for the Game Boy, that is impressive. I just want to get that out of the way before I go into my real assessment, which is not based on objective value at all, but just preference. I am a huge Mario fan. I've been playing them in order. I've played 1, 2, Lost Levels, 3, and now this. 1, Lost Levels, 2, 3, and now this. And I have loved every single one of them. I think they're all amazing games. They're just, and it's not just because I'm a Mario fanboy. I never really have been, but I'm becoming one because the platforming is really clean. The hitboxes are clean. Even old games like that, like when every other game was jank, Mario is not jank. It is superbly made. It is a well-crafted machine. They're perfectly done, all of them. Even Doki Doki Panic, which I know wasn't a Mario game, or the Mario 2, whatever. They're all that good. This one's not that good. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's still Mario. And you know, let's go into the positives first. The game it takes a weird direction. I guess the whole thing takes place in Egypt. So there's a whole bunch of different kind of enemies. There's a whole, it's not like Super Mario 2 and 3 both go weird directions, right? But in both of those games, like you see in more recent Mario games, you see some elements of that in the newer games. Like you see Shy Guys and you see Leaves and him dressed as a raccoon and like all that weird stuff that's super, like if they had never done that again, you'd go back and look at those games and be like, man, these are weird games. What were they thinking with this? And it's cool, but it's so off the wall. Now we just think of that as just Mario stuff because that's what Mario is now. There is a lot of stuff in this game where they take a weird direction. Like there's flying levels. There's all kinds of different enemies that I've never seen before. But I've never seen any of them in any other Mario property since. Now, that doesn't mean they don't exist. They probably do, some of them. I haven't played most Mario games. But from what I know of Mario, these aren't Mario staples. Octopuses that shoot fireballs. And they're not like the little jellyfish or the squids in the original. These are different things. Or like flying, or like ninjas. There's just ninjas in this game. Like Mario has to fight ninjas, and there's like weird like sphinx snakes and like it's just stuff that I've never seen in any other Mario game before or since. And it's cool that, you know, it's a little slice of Mario history that I've never experienced before, and I think every big Mario fan should. Is it fun? Yeah, kind of, a little bit. Here's the main problem. Honestly, I would have had a blast with this game if the platforming were clean and precise, like every other Mario game has been. I recognize it's because it's on the Game Boy and there are just technical limitations, and I'm playing on a much bigger screen than a Game Boy originally was, and so, you know, you could probably overlook a lot of the precision stuff on such a tiny screen. But for all that being as it is, the platforming is not very precise. There's definitely a lot of problems that I've run into in like Mega Man and Ninja Gaiden and some of the jankier, like older Mega Man and Ninja Gaiden games, some of the jankier platformers of the time where it's like you'll hit a ledge and then you'll just kind of fall off anyway, or you'll think you're going to miss a jump and then somehow you just end up on the platform, or, you know, you jump on an enemy and it kills the enemy and kills you. There's a lot of that stuff in this game where the platforming just isn't as precise as the Mario standard that I'm used to. It's just not the same. It's not very good. The platforming is not very good. It's okay, because again, I understand that they're dealing with the technical limitations of the Game Boy, which are substantial. But again, if you're just playing through all the Mario games for the first time in 2024, like I am doing, this is easily the worst one. It is objectively the worst. It is, I don't think it's as creative. They do take some swings, but they really, most of it looks like this. It's mostly, I mean, there's stuff like that, which I think is from like Mario 2 or something. Like there's some weird stuff in there, and there's some new stuff. Like turtles, when you jump on them, they blow up and can hurt you. That's an interesting take. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at it on its face, it looks like Super Mario 1. That's what it looks like. And it's just not as good. It's just not as good. It is creative, and they do take some big swings, and some of them pay off. But like, for instance, the boss fights. The boss fights are a huge improvement on the first game. I was really surprised, actually, when I was playing through a level that looked like this, and then suddenly I'm fighting, like, it's not just somebody. Well, some of them are you do just have to jump, but it's not just Bowser at the end over and over. It's not that. It's more creative boss fights. And so that was my favorite part, was some of the boss fights. I thought the final boss was probably my favorite of the game. The shooting levels were really fun. I guess I'm saying I'm kind of all over the place on this game because, again, I recognize that objectively it's important, and it's probably if I'm 8 years old and I got a Game Boy in my hands, this is a great time. But the reality is, when I'm playing these next to the other ones, this one just isn't as good. And, I feel that way about a lot of, like, when I played Castlevania 1 and then I played Castlevania 1 on the Game Boy. It's just not as good, it's just not nearly as good. It's a lot more basic, and that's what this is. This game is not going to rank very high, because I thought, I raged at it a little bit, because the platforming is pretty rough. It's not going to rank that high because it's so basic. It's really, really basic. It's only 4 worlds apparently, and I did still have kind of a good time with it, but it almost feels like one of those like knockoff Mario games. Like it's Marion, Super Marion Town. But I did enjoy it. It's better than that. It's better than those. But it's not as good as the original trilogy. It's just not, and that's okay. It's not going to rank as high because of that, and that's okay. I've got a lot of Game Boy games now that I've played several of them. I've got a lot of them toward the bottom of my rankings, and they're not there because they're not important or not objectively good considering the circumstances. They're there because they're just not as fun as the full-fledged console titles. They're just not, and so this kind of falls in that category. I think this is probably going to rank somewhere around Kirby's Dream Land. Maybe a little bit lower than that. Some of the like Sonic Chaos or Sonic CD. I don't really like those Sonic games as much as a lot of Sonic fans do, so those are pretty low too. But I'm glad I played it. I am glad I played it because it is an interesting glimpse into a window of Mario lore that I've never been introduced to. So I'm glad I played it. All right, that's it. This is the part of the video where I would normally say, Super Mario Land, it's been fun, but we're now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. But we're playing this on the Switch. I'm not going to delete it. So we'll just say, Mario Land, thank you for existing. I appreciate you. It's been fun, but we are going to say adieu. Bye!